It's been over a decade since we've seen Cameron Diaz in an acting role. Her last movie was 2014's remake of Annie. And here, for her return, she teams back up with one of her Annie co-stars, who himself has been out of the limelight for a little bit due to some medical issues, Jamie Foxx. Let's talk about the new Netflix film, Back in Action. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new Netflix film Back in Action. Yes, this is an action film. There's some comedy too, but I think the title Back in Action could also certainly apply to our two leads here. Cameron Diaz has appeared very sporadically as herself, for example, on the Drew Barrymore talk show. Her old buddy from Charlie's Angels, Drew Barrymore, but also she was a guest judge on RuPaul's Drag Race. She's just a big fan of the show, so she did that. But in terms of acting roles in movies or television, we have not seen Cameron Diaz in a long time. So nice to have her back, and the title could certainly apply to her coming back into the action of Hollywood as well. But Jamie Foxx, you know, he has not been doing a lot of acting gigs in the last couple of years either. In fact, as they were doing some reshoots for this film, he suffered a medical emergency, was out of commission for a long time, but, you know, has partnered with Netflix a few times. He recently had a stand-up special on Netflix talking a little bit about what happened while he was gone. And also his last feature film, I believe, was on Netflix. They Cloned Tyrone, which I just watched the other day, sort of in preparation for this. So, you know, he has a nice connection with Netflix there. All right, before we get into the specifics, though, of this movie and my thoughts on it, let me welcome you back to Dan Reviews It. If you are one of my subscribers already, thank you so much for that. Always love having you guys return. But if you're not, please consider subscribing. Click that notification bell, too, so you get the alerts for all my new video drops. I do try to post just about every day, be it a movie-related video or TV. There's always something going on here on Dan Reviews It. You could just like this video or comment below, too. That stuff, of course, helps the channel as well. So this is sort of, the plot of this is the latest in a long line of recent streaming movies with similar premises and, you know, sort of, you could say it even dates back to, like, True Lies in the 90s, the James Cameron movie, but there's been, you know, a lot more recently, such as Ghosted on, I think that was Apple TV Plus. You had The Family Plan, which is also on Apple TV Plus. You have Role Play, which I think was maybe Peacock. That was probably the best of all these movies. But the basic premise is, in all of these movies, you know, somebody in the family is not familiar with the past of the person in question who was, you know, in this case, a CIA operative. Both Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz were. They were on missions. They fell in love. She got pregnant. And as they were sort of gearing up for a retirement of sorts to start a family, everything kind of went haywire. And this key, so to speak, the industrial control systems key, which can control any electronic system, they ended up stealing it. So when a video of them goes viral with the Jamie Foxx character kind of punching people out in a party, Cameron Diaz was there as well, kicking some ass, then their cover was kind of blown. But of course, their kids knew nothing about any of this. And that is almost the exact plot of The Family Plan, which was Mark Wahlberg. I don't think that was Apple, now that I think about it. That might have been Amazon Prime. Anyway, it was some streaming movie. Mark Wahlberg was in it, and it was the exact same premise. In fact, the way that they got found out, too, was because he sort of lost his cool head a little bit, and a video of him, the Mark Wahlberg character, went viral. And so that's how they found it. So it was, I mean, it's the same exact thing. So we've seen this a number of times in recent years, just in streaming movies alone. But there was the TV version of True Lies that came out recently. There was an Arnold Schwarzenegger show on Netflix where him and his daughter were both secret spies and the other didn't know. I forget what that was called. But anyway, this is obviously a you know, tried and true concept, but none of these projects are particularly that good. Like I said, I think the best of them is probably this Role Play with Kaylee Cuoco and David Oyelowo, I think, was the gentleman. And I gave that a B minus, but that was the best I could muster. Most of these get more like in the D range for me. So how does this one stack up? Well, first of all, in the originality department, it's a 0, obviously, because we have seen this so many times before. And this specifically, the family plan. I think I can't remember if Michelle Monaghan, who played the wife of that, I can't remember if she knew that Mark Wahlberg was a part of that or not, but it doesn't matter. The kids didn't know. They were under assumed identities, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. You do have a couple of wrinkles here in terms of some other great actors thrown into the mix in various roles that I don't even want to really talk about. But Kyle Chandler from Friday Night Lights and some other things, obviously, over the many years, he plays sort of their maybe not their boss, but their sort of eyes and ears, back at Mission Control or whatever when they were on their missions. And Glenn Close is here as well, playing the estranged mother of the Cameron Diaz character. And she herself has a history with the CIA as well, which is kind of how Cameron Diaz got into it. We learn about that as the movie goes on. But in any event, so in the originality department, this movie gets a complete 0 and an F. But let's talk about some of the good things about this movie. The best thing by a clear mile in this movie is seeing Cameron Diaz back in action. She is a great actress. We've seen her do a lot of comedy, obviously. Her more recent movies, in the early 2010s, you had Bad Teacher, Sex Tape, The Other Woman. She did a lot of comedic stuff there. And of course, she got her start really in, sort of action comedies like The Mask. And then she did something about Mary Hilarious. But she also had a lot of really great dramatic performances over the years as well. My Sister's Keeper, Gangs of New York, etc., etc. We won't go into her whole filmography. But point being, it is awesome to see Cameron Diaz back. Charlie's Angels obviously was a touchstone for her and Drew and Lucy Liu. And that's why she appeared on the premiere episode, I think, of the Drew Barrymore talk show, kind of as a little reunion, a little nod to Drew. But those movies, yeah, they're kind of fluff. They're kind of, silly. But there's no denying the star presence of Cameron Diaz, and it is fully on display here. It's as if she never left. There is no like, oh, she really, needed a few scenes to kind of get into the moment. Nah, a star like her, if she's got it, she's got it. Now, listen, she already was in an action comedy that was sort of along the same vein of somebody not realizing someone else and their secret identity with whatever it was. I forget whether it was the CIA or what, but the movie she did with Tom Cruise, Night and Day. Similar, theme again here. So again, nothing new, but God, it's great to see Cameron Diaz back. It really is. And her and Jamie Foxx have great chemistry together, as they did in Annie. He played Daddy Warbucks in that, or whatever he was called, but that version, and she was Miss Hannigan. And so they were sort of enemies, in Annie. But here, their chemistry is just oozing off the screen. Like when you compare it to all of these movies I've talked about, The Family Plan and Ghosted, there's just no chemistry there. And here, it's just the best part of the movie by a clear mile. The script, not so great. Some of the dialogue is even a bit laughable. The action sequences are fine, although the plot device of them, being, I know they're former CIA agents, they haven't been in the biz for 15 years, whatever, but they make some really stupid mistakes along the way that even I was like, all right, well, I never would have done that, and I don't have any training or whatever, but that seems like a clear way to get yourself up or whatever. So there's a lot of holes here that don't quite make sense, but I will say, because it is so great to see Cameron Diaz back on the screen, she's got this great chemistry with Jamie Foxx. I do think this is still not good. It's definitely a more average grade, but it is a bit of a step above a lot of these other ones that I've mentioned for that. So I will leave Back in Action with a C. You can check this out now on Netflix, and They Cloned Tyrone is a pretty interesting movie. I'm going to talk about that hopefully pretty soon on a review as well. But you can check out the Jamie Foxx stand-up special as well on Netflix, where he kind of talks about what happened with his medical emergency. But all right, that will do it for now. Thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It, and I'll see you next time. Bye.